I tried to surprise my son, but what I saw was a complete shock to me. Wait till the end.
I want to begin by taking you into a little moment of mischief, excitement, and pure anticipation, the kind that makes your heart race and your palms a little sweaty. I had this idea, a small plan that in my mind seemed absolutely perfect. I wanted to surprise my son, not with a gift or a party, but with something spontaneous and playful, something that would make him laugh in that uncontrollable, I can't believe this is happening way. So I came up with what I thought was a brilliant idea. I would hide in the car and jump out to surprise him. Simple enough, right? But as I stood there thinking about the plan, I realized the excitement wasn't just in the act itself, it was in the anticipation. I imagined him walking toward the car, probably distracted, probably lost in whatever teenagers think about these days, while I crouched inside, trying not to laugh too early, feeling like a kid again as I waited for the perfect moment. There was something electric about it, the thrill of the unknown, the tiny adrenaline rush that comes from plotting a harmless prank, the quiet streets, the subtle sounds of the neighborhood, even the smell of the car interior felt more intense, as if they were all in on the secret with me. In those moments, I wasn't just a parent planning a surprise. I was a storyteller in my own little adventure. I imagined the joy on my son's face, the shock, and the laughter that would inevitably follow. I thought about the countless times he had surprised me and the way he always had a talent for turning ordinary moments into something memorable. Now it was my turn to flip the script, to give him a little piece of that magic back. Hidden there, heart pounding, I rehearsed the timing in my head, imagining his expression and the sound of his laughter. It was simple, innocent, and full of love. Little did I know, though, that this perfect surprise was about to take a completely unexpected turn, one I never could have planned. You might wonder why I went through all this effort, why I chose to hide in a car just to startle my son. The answer is simple. I wanted to make him happy. Life moves fast, especially with kids. Between school, homework, chores, and endless responsibilities, even the best days can start to feel routine. I realized that sometimes the most meaningful moments are the ones that break that routine, the ones that catch you off guard in the best possible way. It wasn't a birthday or a holiday, it was just because. I wanted to see him smile for no reason at all, and create a memory he could laugh about years from now. There is something magical about a surprise, its power to turn an ordinary day into an unforgettable one. I thought about all the small ways he brings joy into my life, the silly jokes, the excitement in his voice when he talks about his passions, and the way his eyes light up when he discovers something new. I wanted to reflect even a fraction of that joy back to him and let him know in a playful and tangible way that I see him and appreciate him. Hiding in the car wasn't just a prank, it was my way of saying, I care. It was about connection, laughter, and creating a shared moment that could live quietly in our hearts and resurface unexpectedly with a smile. As I waited there, filled with anticipation, I had no idea that the real surprise wouldn't come from me at all, but from an unexpected twist of fate and a story that was about to unfold in a way I never could have imagined. As I approached the car, my heart began to race, filled with that familiar mix of excitement and nervous anticipation that comes with planning a surprise. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of winter leaves and damp asphalt left behind by earlier rain. The neighborhood was unusually quiet, broken only by the distant hum of a passing car. Every crunch of gravel beneath my shoes sounded far louder than it should have, and I found myself resisting the urge to slow down, convinced that even the smallest noise might give away my hiding spot. When I reached the car, I paused for a moment and took everything in. Sunlight glinted off the windshield, catching tiny specks of dust and creating a shimmer that felt almost magical. The doors were closed, the engine silent, and through the glass I could see my son sitting inside, completely absorbed in whatever held his attention, scrolling through his phone, humming softly, unaware of what I had planned. As I crouched down and peered through the window, though, I noticed something unexpected, something that immediately felt off. Every sense felt heightened. I could hear the faint squeak of the seatbelt as he shifted, the soft tap of his fingers on the steering wheel, and the subtle rustle of the seats beneath him. My mind raced as I imagined the perfect moment to open the door and jump out, already picturing his startled laugh and wide-eyed surprise. Then my gaze drifted to the passenger seat, and everything stopped. The world seemed to slow down, the details growing sharper and more intense. The way the sunlight fell across the seat, the pattern of shadows on a face, the slight tilt of a head. My excitement collided with confusion as my mind struggled to process what I was seeing. In that suspended moment, the story changed. The familiar driveway, the ordinary car, and the quiet afternoon suddenly became the setting for something I never saw coming. My heartbeat echoed in my chest as I realized the moment I thought would be simple and joyful was about to transform into something far more surprising and unforgettable than I had imagined. Then it happened. The instant my heart nearly stopped, and I understood that this surprise was no longer about me or the playful plan I had so carefully imagined. As I crouched beside the car, ready to jump out, my eyes locked onto the passenger seat. The perfect prank I had rehearsed in my mind dissolved into disbelief. Sitting there, relaxed and comfortable, was someone I never expected to see. At first, my brain refused to accept it. I blinked, leaned closer, even questioned whether it was a trick of light or a reflection. But it wasn't. It was real. They were smiling and talking with my son as if nothing were unusual. And the contrast between what I expected and what I saw hit me all at once. Every detail felt magnified. The easy way they leaned toward each other, the casual posture, the familiarity in their conversation. Ordinary to them, yet completely shocking to me. For a moment, I froze, torn between jumping out as planned and trying to make sense of the scene in front of me. My thoughts raced with questions. How did this happen? Why were they together? Was this planned or pure coincidence? The playful excitement I'd felt moments earlier twisted into a swirl of surprise, confusion, concern, and curiosity. But beneath it all was something gentler. Watching them, I noticed my son's ease, his comfort, and the genuine happiness in his laughter. In that instant, I realized that some surprises aren't meant to be orchestrated. They arrived unannounced, reshaping our expectations and teaching us to pause, observe, and appreciate the unexpected paths life takes. The prank I had planned faded into the background, replaced by a deeper understanding. My heart was still pounding, my thoughts still racing, but a quiet realization settled in. This was a moment I would never forget, a surprise I hadn't planned, and a reminder of the beautiful unpredictability of life. The moment my eyes settled on who was sitting next to my son, my emotions hit me like a tidal wave, each one crashing over the other in a chaotic, dizzying rush. First came pure, unfiltered surprise. My chest tightened and my heartbeat accelerated in a way only truly unexpected moments can provoke. My carefully rehearsed plan, the jumping out, the laughter, the delighted shock on my son's face, vanished instantly, replaced by a gnawing uncertainty. For a heartbeat, I stood frozen, staring through the glass, trying to reconcile the scene before me with the scenario I had imagined 1,000 times in my head. Confusion followed almost immediately, as my mind raced with questions all at once. How did this happen? Why were they there? Did my son plan this, or was I somehow completely out of the loop? It felt as if my brain were running multiple scenarios simultaneously, each more improbable than the last, desperately trying to make sense of what seemed impossible. I could feel the tension in my shoulders and the slight tremble in my hands, yet beneath it all lingered a strange fascination. Then came a flicker of worry, not panic, but that instinctive parental concern, the what-if thoughts that surge whenever something unexpected happens with your child. Was this a safe situation? Was my son okay? Should I intervene or should I wait? Those questions streamed through my mind, intensifying the moment. Almost without realizing it, humor crept in as well. There was something undeniably absurd about the situation. There I was, crouched in the cold like a prankster, only to discover that the real surprise wasn't coming from me at all, but from life itself, twisting the story in a way I never could have anticipated. A small chuckle escaped me, breaking the tension and reminding me that some of the most memorable moments aren't planned, they simply happen. All of these emotions, surprise, confusion, worry, and humor, swirled together, leaving me stunned, aware that this was more than a playful prank gone sideways. It was a reminder that life has a sense of humor far greater than my own. I took a step back, at least mentally, and chose to observe rather than react. My son and the person beside him weren't doing anything alarming. They were talking, laughing, and genuinely enjoying each other's company. It was clear that this connection was natural and comforting for him, even if it felt completely unfamiliar to me in that moment, and the worry I initially felt slowly shifted into curiosity. As I continued to watch, I became aware of how quickly assumptions form when something unexpected appears in front of us. My mind had rushed to fill in gaps with imagined explanations, some reasonable and others completely off base, all in an effort to regain control of the moment. But by taking a breath and simply observing, the truth became clear. Nothing was wrong. What I was witnessing was an ordinary slice of my son's life, something so normal to him that it likely never crossed his mind to explain it. For me, though, it felt significant, even monumental. That realization brought a subtle but meaningful shift in perspective. I understood that while my desire to surprise him came from love, the real lesson had nothing to do with the prank itself. It was about accepting that parenting, like life, doesn't follow a script. The moments that shape us most aren't always planned. They're the ones we stumble into when we slow down and truly pay attention. By allowing myself to take in the scene without interfering, I found a deeper appreciation for my son's independence, his choices, and his relationships. What began as a playful idea transformed into a lesson in patience, trust, and acceptance, reminding me that sometimes the best surprises are the ones that quietly reveal the world your child lives in, a world you don't always get to see firsthand. As the initial surprise faded and understanding settled in, I began to notice something profound about the moment. It had changed the way I saw my relationship with my son. Until then, I had been thinking in terms of a simple, playful interaction, a prank designed to make him laugh. But this unexpected situation revealed a deeper, more nuanced layer of our bond. I realized that my son had his own life, his own choices, and his own relationships, and that those aspects of him were just as important as the moments we shared together. Watching him in that car, comfortable and engaged with someone I hadn't anticipated, gave me a glimpse into a world that existed independently of me. It was both humbling and enlightening. I saw how much he had grown, how he was forming connections and navigating social interactions in ways I didn't always witness firsthand. The pride I felt in seeing him handle these relationships with confidence and ease was mingled with a renewed sense of respect for the person he was becoming. This wasn't just my little boy anymore. He was an individual with his own stories, experiences, and surprises. At the same time, the moment reinforced the trust and connection we shared. Even though I hadn't planned for this scene, I realized that my role as a parent wasn't to control every moment, but to be present, attentive, and supportive. The surprise reminded me that our bond wasn't limited to orchestrated events or staged moments of joy. It was built on the everyday reality of his life, the ordinary and extraordinary experiences alike. By witnessing this, I felt closer to him because I allowed myself to step back and truly see him, not just as my child, but as a person navigating the world. This moment also sparked reflection on the balance between involvement and independence. It taught me that part of loving someone is giving them space to grow, to make choices, and to share pieces of their life at their own pace. The lesson wasn't about my failed surprise or the unexpected presence in the car. It was about appreciating the trust, openness, and authenticity that exist in our relationship. Ultimately, what could have been just a fleeting, humorous incident became a defining moment in how I understood my son and how I related to him. I realized that the true impact of a relationship isn't measured by perfectly executed plans, but by the capacity to witness, embrace, and celebrate the unexpected moments that life brings. And that, in doing so, our bond grows stronger, richer, and more meaningful than I ever could have imagined. Reflecting on that moment, I realized it was more than just a story of a surprise gone differently than planned. It became a collection of lessons, insights that I carry not only as a parent, but as someone learning to navigate life's unexpected twists. The first lesson was simple but powerful. Life rarely goes exactly as we plan. I had imagined a perfect, controlled scenario. My son walking toward the car, the element of surprise, the laughter, but reality had other ideas. In that unpredictability, I discovered a new kind of joy. Sometimes the beauty of a moment lies precisely in its unexpectedness. Another lesson was about patience and observation. Instead of rushing to react, I learned the value of pausing, taking a breath, and truly observing what was happening. By stepping back, I could see my son's world more clearly, appreciate his choices, and understand the dynamics at play without imposing my own assumptions or judgments. This taught me that sometimes the best way to support someone we love is not to intervene immediately, but to watch, listen, and allow things to unfold naturally. I also learned humility. I had thought I was orchestrating the perfect moment, yet life reminded me that surprises can come from anywhere, even from situations completely outside our control. It was a gentle reminder that we cannot predict everything, and that's okay. There is value in embracing uncertainty, in accepting that not everything needs to go according to plan, and in recognizing that the most memorable moments often arise when we least expect them. Finally, the experience underscored the power of trust, perspective, and presence. Observing my son interact with someone I hadn't anticipated gave me insight into his autonomy and his ability to navigate relationships independently. It reinforced the importance of trusting him, respecting his choices, and acknowledging that his world extends beyond what I see or imagine. While I couldn't control the outcome, my willingness to be there, attentive and engaged, allowed me to witness a moment that was richer and more meaningful than any staged surprise I could have created. Life, I realized, teaches its most important lessons not through careful planning, but through the unplanned, unexpected moments that reveal deeper truths about connection, love, and the joy of simply being present. Once the initial shock had settled and I had taken a moment to understand the situation, I had to decide how to respond. This was not the lighthearted, controlled moment I had imagined, but that didn't mean it was without opportunity. I realized that the way I chose to act would shape the memory of this experience, not just for me, but for my son as well. I took a deep breath and reminded myself that my role wasn't to control everything, but to be present. Instead of bursting out with the playful surprise I had rehearsed, I stayed quietly for a few moments, simply observing. I wanted to gauge the mood, to see how comfortable my son was, and to let the natural rhythm of the situation unfold. It was a subtle, almost invisible decision, but one that mattered deeply. By stepping back, I gave my son the space to continue his interaction while still being close enough to join in if needed. After a brief pause, I approached with a gentle smile and a calm voice. I greeted them casually, not with fanfare, but with warmth, allowing the conversation to flow naturally. I could feel the tension in my chest easing as I noticed my son's relaxed response. He smiled, waved, and even included me in their conversation without hesitation. That small act, being present without being intrusive, transformed what could have been an awkward encounter into a moment of connection. As we talked, laughed, and exchanged a few lighthearted remarks, I realized that sometimes the best way to resolve a situation is to embrace it rather than resist it. I didn't need to orchestrate every detail or control every reaction. The surprise I had imagined evolved into something richer and more meaningful simply because I adapted, stayed mindful, and allowed the moment to teach me something new. By the end of the encounter, I felt a renewed sense of closeness with my son. The unexpected presence beside him, which had initially thrown me into confusion, became an opportunity to witness his world from a new perspective. I left the car smiling, not because the prank went as planned, but because life had offered me a more profound gift, a moment of insight, understanding, and shared joy that I never could have engineered on my own. In the end, the resolution wasn't about the surprise I had planned. It was about choosing presence, patience, and love, and discovering that sometimes the moments we least anticipate leave the most lasting impact. As I reflect on that day, I realize the story isn't just about a surprise or a prank gone differently than planned. It's about the unpredictability of life, the twists that catch us off guard, and the lessons that emerge when we allow ourselves to fully experience the moment. What began as a playful idea, hiding in the car to surprise my son, evolved into a powerful reminder of how life teaches us in ways we never expect. One of the most meaningful takeaways was the value of presence. By simply being there, observing, and participating when appropriate, I discovered a deeper connection with my son. It reminded me that it's not always the grand gestures that matter most, but the quiet, attentive moments where we notice, appreciate, and honor the lives of those we love. Another emotional takeaway was the beauty of unpredictability. Life rarely unfolds according to plan, and unexpected moments, both small and significant, have a way of reshaping our perspective. What initially felt like shock and confusion became a doorway to understanding, humility, and appreciation. It taught me that the best moments often arise when we let go of control and meet the unknown with curiosity instead of fear. Finally, I learned about trust. Trust in my son, trust in his ability to navigate his own relationships, and trust in the journey of life itself. Parenting, I realized, is as much about stepping back as it is about guiding, and about celebrating the growth, independence, and choices of the child we've raised. As I walked away that day, smiling at the unexpected turn of events, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. Gratitude for my son, for the lessons life delivered through that surprising moment, and for the reminder that love, connection, and joy often appear in forms we cannot predict. What I thought would be a simple, playful surprise became something far richer, a story of unexpected discovery, emotional growth, and the quiet magic of witnessing life as it truly is. And if there's one lesson I hope others take from this experience, it's that sometimes the most unforgettable surprises are the ones we never plan for. And sometimes those moments teach us more than we ever imagined.